من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعدي حقه المجتهدون الصلاة والسلام على الرسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وبآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا وبآله والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطاهرين أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم الدرجات والله بما تعملون خبير صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Once again, I begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most magnificent and the most merciful, and who takes us to our destination and heeds to our call when we need Him. On that note, I say Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Of course, we are gathered here tonight for two important occasions. One is, of course, we are celebrating the wiladat and the birthday of Janabi Masuma Qum, Fatema Masuma salamullahi alayha, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And we are gathered here, of course, to congratulate and say hongera, hongera to the Mawani family. One of the sons or the grandsons of Mzee is getting married, inshallah, very soon. Ashik Bhai, Mabruk, Alfi Mabruk. I recited this ayah from Suratul Mujaddila, number 58, Surah 58, ayat number 11. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. That Allah is the one. Of course, we will talk about this noble and great personality first, and then we will end again congratulating the Mawani family, inshallah. Allah is the one who has elevated the level or the status of those among you. This is what the ayah says. Who have iman, who have faith, and those who have been given ilm, those who have been given knowledge. And this is one of the criteria in Quran, that is iman and ilm, faith and knowledge. The criteria in Quran is that where we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He talks about the preference of one individual over the other, either is the issue, or either of them the issue of iman or jihad. Iman is faith, jihad is struggle, or taqwa, piety, or ilm, knowledge. Allah in this ayah has combined both faith, that is iman, and ilm, which is knowledge, together. Now, when we look at the importance of elevating the stages of those who have been given knowledge, ilm, when those who have been given knowledge and those who are pious, those who have taqwa, Islam does not differentiate between the genders on this issue. When it talks about faith, iman, taqwa, piety, knowledge, these issues are not those which can be divided by gender. Why? Because taqwa, faith, piety, knowledge is not a part of the physical dimension of a human being. It has to do with aql, it has to do with intelligence. And the soul, of course. Piety, to be pious, to have taqwa, dependent on the soul of the person, And the soul and the aql of a human being is neither male nor female, if we understand this. And it is in this light that we see that when we look at the history of Islam in general, especially our Shia history, Shia perspective of history, we see that whenever we talk about great personalities in history, we do not only talk about male members of the society in history, but the female, we talk also of the female members of the society. For example, the story of Adam will not be completed without Hawa, Adam and Eve. They go hand in hand together. Although it's there in the Bible, the story of Adam and Eve, but in Bible, they hold Eve responsible for the problems and troubles that were created, and they were thrown out of paradise. They hold his wife responsible. But in Quran, it's not so. Hawa is not responsible because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says, وَأَضَلَّهُمَ الشَّيْطَانِ. It is a plural. If you see this, a plural vocabulary. If you see the grammar in Quran, it says, وَأَضَلَّهُمَ الشَّيْطَانِ, means it was not only the female member at that time whom shaitan deviated. No, they were both responsible. See the trouble that came on them, or the mischief that shaitan or iblis created? Both of them were adallahum ash-shaitan. Quran says both of them were responsible. Similarly, when you look at story of Musa alayhi salam, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We cannot talk about the history or narration of Nabi Musa alayhi salam's life without talking about his mother or without talking about his sister. Similarly, when we talk about Jesus Christ, when we talk about Isa alayhi salam, we cannot separate his life from the beginning to the end without talking about his mother, Maryam alayhi salam. So when we look at the life, and when we look at the life of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, especially during the early years in Makkah when the Prophet was under a lot of pressure. He was under a lot of stress at that time. There we cannot talk about his seerah, about his code of conduct of the Prophet without mentioning the contribution and sacrifice of his wife, Bibi Khadija salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. And the list goes on. When we look in the annals of history, according to the Shia perspective, we look at the life of Imam Ali, we cannot ignore the life, or we cannot ignore to talk about his wife, Bibi Fatima, Zahra salamullahi alayha. When we come down the ladder and we look at the tragedy of Karbala, for example, it is in two parts. We can not only talk about Imam Hussein alayhi salam's sacrifice in Karbala without talking about his sister who carried his mission onwards and came back to Medina. And this goes on and continues right up to the era of Ghaibat al-Sughra, the minor occultation, where you will see that the aunt, Hakima Khatun, the aunt of the 11th Imam, played a tremendous role, an important role, and she was basically considered as one of the wakala. Wakala means a nominee, an agent as we call, a nominee during the time of Ghaibat al-Sughra. The birth and all, if you see the narrations, the birth of Imam Zamana is reported by her. Of course, 11th Imam is there, but she was the one who was there with the mother of Imam Zamana when she delivered the baby. So this is there all the way from the days of Islam, early days, till Ghaibat al-Sughra. So when we look at the personality of this lady that we are celebrating her birthday today, Masuma Qum, Fatima, whose name is Fatima, we look at especially the Shia history. When we look at the Shia history, I think it can be proved that when Shia Muslims go, besides Hajj, of course, Hajj once in a lifetime is wajib. So when the Shia Muslims, they go for Hajj, they also go for ziyarat. Not only for Hajj. We do not only go for ziyarat only, as a hajj only. We go for the ziyarat of all the 14 Masumins who are not only also male, but there are two ladies, outstanding ladies in the history of Shiaism, who are very important in the Shia tradition. And their ziyarat is also included when we go for ziyarah. You cannot go to Iran to Mashhad only and not go to Masuma Qum. If the conditions were conducive, you would not only go to Karbala, but you would also go to Bibi Zainab in Sham. That's how these two ladies are so important and outstanding in the Shia history. We have Bibi Zainab and Bibi Masuma Qum alayha salam. Now, using the Christian, if I use the Christian terminology, I will say that these two ladies are the saints of the Shia faith. They are the saints of the Shia faith, or Shia world. But in Shiaism, there is no concept of sainthood. But just to give you an idea, just to give our children an example, that these ladies, the elevation of the status of these ladies is so important that we can call them saints. Those who have been blessed. These are the ladies who have been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the extent that to visit the shrine or their shrine is important, and to ask and seek hajat, our needs through them in their shrine, and make them our intercessors for us is also very important. For the kabuliyat of our hajat, for the acceptance of our hajat, we have to put these ladies in the line of intercession for us, where the hajat can be accepted. And there is an example about, especially when we see this sometimes, anti-Islamic propaganda taking these days, anti-Islamic propaganda, the Islamophobia that goes around. Besides, now you see how they use the Islamophobic community, the community that raises the anti-Islamic slogans, how they use, besides raising the human rights card, they also raise the women's rights card. It's very common. Not only human rights, but women's rights also in Islam, they say, are being violated and being crushed. So they raise the women's rights card, which is very common. So whenever they talk about Islam, they talk about human rights and, of course, women's rights. How they are being violated, so-called hypothetically violated in Islam. So let me talk about, first of all, before I come deep into this subject, this noble lady, Bibi Masuma. Masuma is a title given to her. Her name was Fatima. She is basically full sister. Full sister means what? There were many imams who had different children from various mothers. But this is, Bibi Masuma is a full sister of her brother Imam Raza. Means one father and one mother. Our seventh Imam, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, if you've read history, he was blessed. MashaAllah, he was blessed with many, many children. I don't want to give you a number. But he was blessed with many children. Now, among the daughters, there were two daughters that he named Fatima. One is Fatima Kubra and one is Fatima Sughra. Now, Fatima Kubra is this noble lady that we are celebrating her wilada and her birthday. Now, it is interesting that although she was the sister of our 8th Imam, but the age difference between them, between the 8th Imam and her, is about 25 years. Means what? Means when Bibi Masuma was born, she was born when Imam Raza was already 25 years old. So the age difference is 25 years. And when the 7th Imam was martyred and killed by Harun al-Rashid when he was poisoned, she was 10 years old. Bibi Masuma was 10 years old. That's why when you see that the close bond between the sister and the brother, why? Because basically our 8th Imam took over the role of the father figure in the family, especially towards his younger sister. That's why there's a strong bond here. You see, remember, Imam Hussein and Bibi Zainab, how strong the bond was there. Same bond is so strong in this family. Now this name Fatima seems a name that is preferred, a chosen name in the household of Ahlul Bayt. It is very common in the household of Ahlul Bayt, in the Prophet's household. Every generation, you see, in the household of Ahlul Bayt, a very common name. And sometimes, you know, we say we should name our children with a variety of names. Otherwise, there's a lot of confusion in the house or in the family. But when it comes to the name of Fatima, we see that in the family of the Prophet in Ahlul Bayt, every generation, when a daughter was born, they would choose the name Fatima. Salamullahi alayhi. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And interestingly, this has been from a long time, like mother of Imam Ali, for example, Fatima binti Asad, daughter of Rasulullah, Fatima. Even one of the daughter of Imam Ali was named Fatima binti Ali, but she was not from the womb of Bibi Fatima. She was from one of the other wives. Then we have Fatima bintul Hussein, Imam Hussein's daughter. So in every generation that you see, they have, until we come to the 7th Imam, we have Fatema Qum, Fatima Kubra and Fatima Sughra, two daughters. And when we look at this name, this does not only reflect piety. This name, Fatima, does not only reflect piety. It signifies the concept of ilm. It signifies the concept of knowledge. Iman, faith, and knowledge, they go hand in hand together. Now, as I said earlier, there is no difference between genders on this issue, where the question of ilm, knowledge arises, or faith arises, or taqwa, or piety. There is no difference in gender. I remember an example a few years ago, I think maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. There was a very interesting news in the news media in Toronto Star, one of the newspapers there. There was an issue about a girl who had come from Afghanistan, a grown-up girl. And interestingly, her father was killed by the Taliban there a few years ago. And one of the Toronto Star reporters covered this issue and this incident, this news. It was covered by many of the news media at that time, but it was specifically covered by Toronto Star. And they talked to this lady. The Toronto Star news media reporter talked to this girl about her deceased father. Her father was killed by the Taliban. And this daughter said that one of the reasons why the Taliban killed my father was, he was a very high-ranking official in the Afghanistan government, very high-ranking official. But she says he was killed because my father wanted not only his sons to be educated, but he wanted all his daughters to be educated at university level. And as we know till today, look at Afghanistan, till today, wherever Taliban pockets are there, they are against the education for women and girls, till today. They threatened this man. They warned him a couple of times, then they threatened him, and eventually when he ignored their threats, the process, he was killed. They got rid of him. And this is where we see that when this incident unfolded in Canada, the Canadian government became very sympathetic to this issue. The Canadian government literally became very sympathetic to the situation, and she was allowed to come into Canada for further studies, all paid for. The Canadian government at that time allowed this lady to come and pursue her further studies, and the government of Canada paid for and facilitated her to obtain her high level of education in Canada. See? Now, it's a good thing. We do not object to that. But if you look at the flip side of the coin, if you look at the flip side of this incident is that it's really, really a negative sign. It's portraying a negative sign and signal for the Muslims. Why? Because of Taliban. If you take the flip side, it's portraying for us a very negative portrayal because of the Taliban. Taliban basically are the Wahhabi cult. We know that. They are the Wahhabi cult. And the image that they portray, the image, the project of Islam all over the world till today, it cannot be eradicated from the minds of Westerners or non-Muslims. It cannot be eradicated. An image where women and girls are banned from education. This is their main criteria wherever they rule in Afghanistan. Now, when we talk of early days of Taliban in Afghanistan, when they came to power, you remember Mulla Umar? La'natullahi alayh. Mulla Umar, who was the head of the Taliban government at that time. When he came to power, the first decree that he issued was close down all over Afghanistan, all the girls' schools. That's the first thing that he did. And it's funny. Sometimes you think that because it could have been, hypothetically, it could have been justified that, okay, if it is a co-education society or a co-ed system where boys and girls are together, then you close down that school and maybe open another school. But this was just a girls' school. These are only girls' school. Only girls are going there for education. There are no boys involved. And this is their un-Islamic and ignorant attitude, which is being portrayed, unfortunately, all over the world today. This is the jahala, the ignorance, the dark ages of the Taliban system. And then sometimes when I talk about these type of cultural issues, or to our non-Muslim colleagues at the airport, sometimes where I work, with the colleagues that I have in the office, we've got a large number of employees where we discuss so many things in our downtime. These issues arise, and I tell them that do not focus on the example of Saudi dogma. No. Do not focus on the dogma of the Talibans. No. Do not focus on what Afghanistan is doing or what the Taliban are doing in Afghanistan. Cross the border. You know, Iran shares the same border with Afghanistan. And I tell them that why don't you look at the flip side of the Taliban, the opposite side of the Wahhabi cult, where you have another society where the teachings of Ahlul Bayt are imparted. Go there, cross the border, and check out Iran, where the teachings of Ahlul Bayt are imparted. In Iran, for example, I tell them, go and see, go to Iran, check it out if you can. And I give them the information that these are the people who believe in the Prophet and his family. There is no concept of Wahhabi cult there in Iran. And if you go to universities, then it's true. I have been to Iran so many times, and I have visited so many colleges and universities there with friends of mine. It's not only that I go for ziyarah. If you mingle with the people, you come to know lots of things, what's happening in that country. If we confine ourselves only to specific places, then you will never know what is the culture of the people, how the people are, how educated they are, how ignorant they are, whether they are in the dark ages or the educational side. We cannot know that. We go to mingle with the people. So when I visit sometimes with my friends in Iran, and I find that the ratio of girls is way more than the boys for higher education in colleges and universities in Iran. SubhanAllah. The ratio of girls is way more beyond than the boys who are acquiring higher education, not only in simple subjects, but in medical sciences, for example, engineering colleges and universities. There are more girls in this venue in universities in Iran than boys, and this is because of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, whereby the prime importance is given to educate not only boys, but the emphasis has been laid down on the girls as well. There is no stopping of education in the society in Iran, where the faith of Ahlul Bayt is propagated. If you look at even if you look at the religious side of education, I don't think, there is a humongous, I don't know if you've seen it in Medina when you go for ziyarah of the Prophet, but there is a large university, Islamic university in Medina, where they churn out the Maulvis, the Wahhabi Maulvis every year. Huge. In Medina, it's known as the Islamic University of Medina in Saudi Arabia. They literally keep on churning out the mutawwas who rule that country. They keep on churning out from this university. And in that university, when I inquired, there is not a single wing where women can be accommodated for education, even their own Islamic education, unfortunately. Look at the difference between the Taliban education system and where the faith of Ahlul Bayt has been established. There is no women's department in the Islamic University of Medina in Saudi Arabia for any studies, even in their own fiqh, in their own jurisprudence, fortunately. Whereas ISIA Qum in Iran, after the Islamic Revolution started, a university exclusively for ladies only was established in Qum, which is known as Jami' al-Zahra. I don't know if you have seen that. But there is a university which was established in Qum known as Jami'. Jami' is university. Jami' al-Zahra, University of Fatema Zahra, Salamullahi alayha, which is exclusively women's hawza, where ladies, women and girls are educated and trained to become Islamic scholars in order to serve the women's segment of the Shia nation. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's a very interesting incident. A friend of mine, a professor in Iran, was talking to him. Teacher, he was a teacher in teaching in one of the universities of Tehran. He was a teacher of methodology in Iran. He was relating his incident to me. He said, when I started, apparently he had studied in the West as well. So he said, when I started teaching in university, I told the students to write a proposal of your research. That write a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he tells me, Riyaz, I told the students to write a proposal of your research. Means they were research students on a very high level of education. And as we know, in universities here also, the first thing the professor asks, if you're on a higher education level, they write a proposal. What do you want to do in the coming year? What do you want me to teach you? What do you want to learn in this particular subject? And apparently, none of the students were taught how to write a proposal. And the first thing that a student asks in universities and colleges is, would you give me a proposal of what you want to do? This is the first question the professor asks. And the teacher was told, the reply that he received was, from the boys and girls, was, Mu'tarinana vishtim. That we've never heard of this proposal. We've never written a proposal. And then he said, well, you better learn it the hard way. And they learned, very smart students. And the majority were women. The majority were women. They are the ones, the girls and the ladies are the ones who are studying. Why is it a phenomena? Why? The government of Iran is asking today that why is this a phenomena that the university is asking questions about this issue, and the problem is that the majority are women who are educating themselves. And boys are remaining, so to say, ignorant. So they said there's another problem for the Iranian government, that is a problem of matchmaking now. You see the level of education that the girl has and the level of education that the boy has, there is no compatibility. Now when there is no compatibility between the two genders, it has become an issue as far as marriage is concerned, as far as matchmaking is concerned. What do you do? What do you do with these learned women who should find, who should or must find a learned husband? On the same intellectual level, the IQ, at least to a certain level, has to match between husband and wife, or between a boy and a girl to get married. But the husbands or the boys are not learned, And as the women are in Iran today, the universities are worried that we need to do something about the curriculum, or we need to drop down and make it easier for the boys to join universities and colleges, or we need to do something whereby the boys also get more and more interested in education than now what they are doing. What I'm trying to say, basically, is that we have to submit that a man and a woman are equal in capacity. Read my lips. Man and a woman, as far as intellectual level, education is concerned, knowledge is concerned, piety is concerned, they are equal in capacity. They are equal in capacity. It's the matter of training a man or a woman to take up responsibility. There was a time in Tehran, I heard these small anecdotes some time ago, that there was a time in Tehran that the board examination of the faculty of medicine, it was so bad that they would not allow a woman to become an orthopedic surgeon. There was a time in Iran that the board examiners would not allow a woman to become an orthopedic surgeon. They would purposely and intentionally make the board exams so hard and so difficult and tough for a woman that she would never pass it. That was the whole idea, not to get women orthopedic surgeons. Because they thought that a woman does not have the capacity to become an orthopedic surgeon. Yes, of course, she can become a pediatrician, a children's doctor, or a gynecologist. That is not a problem. But a man could do anything. These are the areas that were specifically reserved for men. There was this distinction at the time in Iran between a man and a woman and their capacities, that I'm talking about the intellectual capacities. And our hats off to the women. They fought back. They literally fought back, saying that we wish to determine what field we wish to be in. We do not want these men to tell us what to do. This is exactly what happened. We will determine ourselves and we will prove it to you that we are better than you. We don't want you men to determine for us what field we should be going into. Give us a chance. They fought back. Give us a chance and we will prove it. And eventually they changed the board examiners' composition, who are all men, by the way, at that time. In the medical science, in the medical field, they were all men. They were now including women in it. There was a substantial amount of women who became the board examiners at that time in the board examination. And women took up the courses of becoming an orthopedic surgeon, and they passed those tough exams. But the exams remained the same. The papers didn't change. And these women, they passed those tough exams, by the way, and they were capable and they were granted what we call the official license to practice being an orthopedic surgeon. It's in Iran. What did it prove? It proved to the system was that a man or a woman, if allowed to develop their isala, means their capabilities, their authenticity, and their potentialities to become what they wish to become, there is nothing to stop them in whatever field they wish to master themselves in, keeping in light these two ladies, Bibi Zainab and Masuma Qum alayha afdalus salatu wassalam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And before I end, let's always remember example of Fizza, the housemaid of Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullah. The difference between Islam of Ahlul Bayt and the Islam of the Wahhabis and the Taliban. What? Fizza was brought to the house of the Prophet as a maid, not as a student. She was brought into the house as a maid. She was brought in to serve the family. But when she leaves that house, when they got her married, and when she left that house after a long period of time, and her contact with that blessed family was so powerful, was so outstanding, that she came out as an exemplar scholar, an educated lady out of the house of the Ahlul Bayt. That for the last 20 years of her life was spent talking to others. When she used to converse, like we talk, we used to converse, she would not talk anything except the verses of the Quran. If you asked her a question, she threw a verse of Quran at you. If you talked to her about some issues, she would bring up that subject from the Quran and give it to you. 20 years, she did not utter any words. As we talk, sometimes verbal diarrhea, as I say. She did not talk. She talked only through the verses of the Quran. Any conversation, interacting with the public, interestingly, she would converse in the language and the verses of the Quran. Subhanallah. Coming out of the house of blessed house of Ahlul Bayt. So when Taliban came to power, they throw girls out of the school. They close the girls' school who have gone to study. But in the maktab, in the offices of Ahlul Bayt, when Janab Fizza goes to work as a maid in the house of Bibi Fatima, she exits the house an outstanding scholar. See the difference? A scholar par excellence of the Quran. Now this is just not an isolated example. The tradition of keeping the torch of knowledge alive, lighted and burning in the female segment of the human society is our responsibility, as far as Islam is concerned. And therefore Qum has acquired this barakah, this sanctity, because of this holy and noble lady who is buried there. The haram of Bibi Fatema Masuma, salawatullahi wa salamu alayha, salawat ala Muhammad wa. And before I end, let me narrate one incident from the annals of history, because we learn from this history that we have, and they're a very interesting part of our own Shia history, about this sacred haram of this noble lady, Ayatollah Burujardi. We've heard his name, Ayatollah Hussain Burujardi. You know, there was a time, till 1961 he passed away. There was no other marja in the Shia world who was being followed. It was only Ayatollah Burujardi. There were no other marja. The whole of the Shia world was kind of circumambulating around Ayatollah Burujardi. Our forefathers were all in the taqleed of Ayatollah Burujardi. He passed away in 1961. And then there came the era of almost the same type of Ayatollah Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, who passed away in 1992, I think so. And then came the time of Ayatollah Khouyi, and now Ayatollah Sistani. But Sayyid Burujardi, of our Buzurg, our elders who are that they used to make taqleed. The whole of the Shia world was in the taqleed of Ayatollah Hussain al-Burujardi. He was living at the time of the Pahlavi dynasty, the Shah of Iran, the Pahlavi dynasty. Even at that time, the Shah was forced to bow to this mujtahid. He was forced to follow the injunctions and show respect to Ayatollah Burujardi at that time. And interestingly enough, King of Saudi Arabia at that time, Ibn Saud made a state visit to Iran. He was on a state visit to Iran. When this king comes to Iran, pomp and glamour, and you can imagine what happened, because both sides are Shah. One is emperor, one is king. There was a discussion between these two government officials, and the office of Ayatollah Burujardi was contacted that the king is deciding to come and visit you. Why? Because you, being the supreme religious leader of the whole of the Shia community worldwide. Hence, the king of Saudi Arabia would like to come and visit Ayatollah Hussain al-Burujardi. After giving it a few minutes of thought, he refused. He declined. He said, I will not see him, and I will not meet him. this is my opinion, we can say that it was a way of saying that I don't want to deal with this Wahhabi ideology here in Qum, or the Wahhabi king. But the reason, the intellectual reason, I mean, it's an outstanding reason that he's very interesting. And he says, because of his Salafi belief, because of his Wahhabi belief, if this person comes to Qum, he will come to my house or to my office to visit me. But because of his Wahhabi school of thought, he will not visit the haram of Bibi Fatima Masuma alayhi salam. And this is an insult not only to Bibi Fatima but to me also. This is Ayatollah Burujardi. Said this is an insult to this noble and sacred lady who is buried here, Hazrat Masuma, in my eyes, that a king can come and visit a lay-by ordinary man like me and does not go to an empress or a queen who's sleeping there and ziyarah of this holy shrine of Bibi Masuma. You know this when it transpired, the embargo on Qatar, and then Qatar started leaning towards Iran, and Qatar's foreign minister, he went to visit Iran. Where was he taken first? When he visited Iran, his second visit after Tehran was into Qum. There were photographs in the news media that the foreign minister of Qatar, I don't know their leanings, but he was taken to visit the haram and the holy shrine of Masuma Qum. And this is the reason Sayyid Burujardi said that no, I will not allow ourselves to be insulted, and therefore I'd rather have not come in for this visit or for this reason. This is where we have to realize, my brothers and sisters, the importance of our faith, that how blessed we are in this light, and the importance of that haram, of that lady that we are talking about, the barakah and the blessings that the ulama, not only people like us, the ulama have gained from this noble lady in her haram. So next time when we go to Qum, we should remember, when you go to Qum now, next time for ziyarah, keep this in mind, that this ziyarah of this sacred haram has been encouraged by the 6th Imam during his time. He was not there to see afterwards, but he encouraged and he predicted. It was his prediction about this noble and sacred lady. It's because of her that today Qum has acquired its own sanctity and barakah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ya Allah bihaqqi Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha wa abiha wa ba'liha wa baniha. We pray that Allah accept our amal for today. We've been remembering Bibi Fatima Masuma Qum, and He also may bless the Mawani family, and of course the groom-to-be and the bride-to-be. And of course, before I close, in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He grants marriage and the company of a woman in wedlock with a man a particular sanctity. Let me close with this, which must be understood in its true perspective. Allah in Quran says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. We've heard this ayah. In every khutbah of nikah, this is recited. That one of His wonderful signs, ayatihi, wonderful signs, is that He has created from among you yourselves, your partners. That means that according to Quran, marriage is one of those wonderful signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This institution is a sign which leads into understanding the way He has created us and the way He wants us to live on this earth. وَجْعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. After that He says that He has ordained, when the bond is done, when the nikah is performed, He has ordained that there be between you two love and care for each other. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.